Hey, buddy, watch this.
Hello, RegisKillbin is the name, and Hearthstone is the game, and this is something I'm calling the Random Deck Challenge. Now, I used to have a feature called the Invalid Deck Challenge, because in the past in Hearthstone, whenever you had an empty deck and you hit the Done button, it would tell you had an invalid deck. You're 30 cards short of a full deck. Do you want to finish the deck automatically? If you hit the Yes button, in the past, it would build you a totally random deck with awful cards, with no semblance of a curve, with no thought process behind it at all. If you do that today, you can see that it's actually a relatively smart process. It gives you a decent little curve, has some nice early game cards, it throws in legendaries it thinks you'll like. So it's really hard to build an invalid deck that's actually terrible, and the entire point of that challenge, and in fact this challenge as well, was to take a really bad deck, see if you could swap 3 cards from that list, so put in 3 cards of your choice, maybe to fix the curve, add some legendary minions, just to make the deck generally better, and then try to win games with that awful deck. But since that's not possible anymore, I've had to find a new way to create an invalid deck, or a random deck in this instance. So let's go ahead and jump into that process. And as you can probably tell already, it takes a fair bit of work to actually pick random cards from Hearthstone. You have to rely on some outside tools. So to explain this process, what I've done, I've assembled a list of every card in Hearthstone. For this particular video, I've narrowed that down to standard format Druid cards, because this is going to be a Druid deck. They're the first alphabetically, so I wanted to start with a Druid. So this list includes every single card that could possibly be put in a deck. What I've done next is create a list of 30 random numbers to correspond to this list. So for instance, the first numbers will take number 99, and that will tell us the first card in our deck. And we're going to go through here real fast and just see what's in our list. As you can tell, wow. All right, so number 99 is actually Deathwing. So that's pretty cool. Like, random decks, you don't often get a legendary. So that's really, really fantastic that we already started with Deathwing. So who's next at 241? And by the way, I'll show you a completed deck list as soon as we're done with this process. I know it's more fun to watch cards in-game than in spreadsheet, but this is really kind of the only way to do this, so you'll have to bear with me. That's Mark of the Wild, 209. Next card is King Mukla, another legendary. Okay, cool. Not necessarily a great one, but something we can work with at least. We could have an early 7/7 with King Mukla and Mark of the Wild. 205, Cabal Chemist. Oh, I may have to fix that. We can't actually run Cabal Chemist, so I'll have to think about Cabal cards. I didn't actually remove those from the list. We'll swap that out with a random 3-drop when I actually assemble the deck here shortly. So sorry about that, folks. I'll have to take care of that in the future. Up next is 129. That is Emperor Thorazon. There's really not that many legendaries that we should be getting so many, but I can't complain. Up next is 384, and that is this is just like a pack opening video. I mean, look at the list. I swear to God, this is, you can see this is from random.org. You can go run a result yourself and look exactly like this. I'm not biasing the results. I want the deck to be bad. I mean, Twin Emperor Vekler actually probably will be bad now that I think about it, because we won't have any Cthulhu cards or Cthulhu, so he's just going to be a 7-mana 4/6. So that's actually not really like getting a legendary. Up next is number 12, and these cards are in alphabetical order, by the way. Ancient Harbinger. Okay, so that's actually some synergy if we were to somehow magically get a Cthulhu, but that's so incredibly impossibly unlikely. 376 is Tournament Attendee. Okay, that's pretty bad. 409. 409 is Yaxaran. Alright, so I don't think we actually have any spells yet, so that could be pretty bad. Oh my gosh, this is crazy. I love it. This is just like opening packs all over again. 203 is... Oh, we almost got Just Carbon. It said it's Jungle Panther. That's pretty bad. Where are we at? Oh, I'm not on. It's not 203. It's 230. Oh, okay. Sorry about that. I need to learn to read. Lunar Visions. All right. That's not too great, but we can probably work with that. 96 is Dark Scale Healer. All right, that's a nice basic card. I don't hate it. 340 is Small Time Buccaneer. So a good card, but not great for Druid, and not something we'll be able to work with. So pretty empty draw there. 159 is the Gadget Zan Socialite. Okay, pretty bad. 173 is it's Gruul. I don't even know if I have a Gruul. I might have to craft Gruul. I didn't customize this list to my actual collection, so that might force me to craft some cards from time to time. 90 Cult Master. All right, not a Cthulhu Synergy card, unfortunately, but it sounds similar. 138. I swear to God, it looks like I'm cheating, but I promise I'm not cheating. I don't know what to tell you. I'm just not cheating. This is crazy. Fangel Sagum, of course, great card. 262 is Mountain Giant. That's not bad. It'll be tough to work with, though. I don't think we'll have a lot of cards in hand. 318 is Savage Roar. Right, well, that's one spell for Yogg. 341 is... That's so got the Slitherer. Okay, I mean, look at the list, guys. There's a lot of legendaries in the game. I mean, the amount of legendaries is probably like 20%. So it's not like crazy that we're getting this many. It's just funny how many there were. So was that 262? I'm a little lost on where I was. No, that was Mountain Giants. That was 318. I think we're down to 341. No, that was 341. Okay, 45. 45. We actually found it. That is Bilefin Tidehunter. Okay. Not much there. 77, Clockwork Knight. Not much there. 28 is Argent Horse Rider. That's a solid card. 136. Sorry if I'm scrolling a little too fast. Faceless Shambler. That could actually be good with some of this big stuff we've gotten. 182, Huge Toad. All right, that's fine. Some beast synergies. 219 is... almost hit Leroy, but instead we get the awful leather-clad Hog Leader. 286 is... I've got the entire Old Gods suite almost. It's N'Zoth the Corruptor. Man, there's a lot of Old Gods cards in this list. But unfortunately, I don't think we have any Death Rattles. Maybe one or two, but I don't remember any yet. So that's probably just a dead card, unfortunately. Was that 286? I think I'm on 199. Jade Idol. You know, that's only good if we turn it into 3 more Jade Idols, but that would have to be in a very, very, very slow game. 386. I feel like we already did 386. No, Validated Doomsayer. Okay. 198 is Jade Blossom. Cool, okay. These are in alphabetical order, of course, so Jades are all together there. And 318, final card, Savage Roar. We already hit a Savage Roar, so we'll have to replace that one too. No, we won't. What am I saying? I think that's fine. We can have 2 Savage Roars. There's no reason we can't have duplicates. I was thinking legendaries, if you rolled the same number, you'd have to fix that. But 2 Savage Roars works just fine. Okay, so that's our deck. And I'm going to go build that deck right now, and we're going to play some games. So let's see how it goes. Alright, so as you can see, here is the deck list. You will note that I replaced the Cabal card with a Silverback Patriarch. I did a little random on just the 3-mana cards, and unfortunately I landed on this bad boy. One of the worst cards in the game, but that's alright. We can still make it work maybe with something like Mark of the Wild. So just take a look at our list. The whole point of this process, this challenge, is still to be educational. I'm not just doing this for fun, even though it is a ton of fun. I want to think about deck lists and how we view cards and try to expose some synergies perhaps that we didn't realize existed in the game. So this needs to be an educational process. So I mean, looking at our list, we actually ended up with a surprisingly smooth curve. That's probably going to happen more often than not, just based on the way that card costs are distributed in Hearthstone in general. So in other words, there's a lot of early game cards, even more early to mid game cards, and a lot of late game cards too. Now, that said, we're probably a little bit heavy on late game cards. We're just going to have dead hands sometimes with this many 10 drops. Like, that's just crazy. Some of these cards are just far too slow. And, you know, normally N'Zoth, the Yogg-Saron, those are the kinds of cards that are really good swing cards and catch-up cards. But I think we only have one Death Rattle in this list with Huge Toad. So N'Zoth is going to be awful. And Yogg-Saron's not any good because we don't have any spells. So those are two fundamental issues. I mean, we have a few spells, but not enough to make Yogg-Saron relevant, right? So you know, that this big column down here, this big fat hump at 7, I can't actually hover over it. So, but the 7+ cards, that's a little too high. But everything else looks pretty good. Maybe a little light on the 4 spot. But ultimately, that's not a bad curve by any means. The real problem, of course, is that our minion quality is rather low in the early game. So we're going to have trouble contesting early boards just because we have weird stuff like Small Time Buccaneer that basically does absolutely nothing. So that's a little bit of a problem. Plus, our Fandral seemed like a good card at the time, but we never got any combo cards, or choose one cards, excuse me. So there's no advantage to him. He's just a bad Sinjin Shieldmaster. He's just a 3/5. So this is the problem, of course, with random decks, is that you get all these cards that don't actually really do anything necessarily, even though they're normally good. So certainly that exposes the importance for building your deck around a central theme or idea or some sort of swing card or power card, which we can't actually do at this point. So another caveat here, another goal of this is to see what we can do to make this deck better by replacing up to 3 cards. So in other words, we get to trash 3 cards and swap in 3 of our own to see if that can turn the corner and make this deck good enough to actually win games. So first thing we have to do is decide which 3 cards we want to get rid of. I don't think we can get rid of any really early game cards. We need as many as possible. Even if it's a bad Small Time Buccaneer, that can turn into Buccaneer and a Mark of the Wild, which is a decent little play. So I think we need to drop some of these more late game cards. And the first one that actually stands out to me is Mountain Giant. This is a good card, certainly, but it really only works in decks that know you can safely get off to a small or a slow start and then actually recover in the mid to late game. Things like Handlock, for instance, or Reno Lock have been able to take advantage of this card because they get to life tap a couple times, get a big hand. They actually get to play it on 4, which means it's really not a late game card at all. But they still have the opportunity to swing behind this card. We won't be able to do that because we're going to be playing minions the first few turns, as you can see from our curve. So this is like probably a 7 or 8 mana 8/8 for us, which just isn't all that exciting, and it's just too slow because our opponents can ignore it and hit our face. So I'm going to drop the Mountain Giant first off. As far as these other late game cards that we might want to get rid of, Deathwing is actually fantastic in this list, and frankly in bad decks in general, just because he's sort of a last resort type card. If all else fails, your deck's just not beating your opponent because they have better cards than you. Deathwing's the kind of card you can just slam down, sacrifice all the bad cards in your hand, and he gives you a win condition. Maybe they can't answer him and you just hit their face twice for lethal. So I really like Deathwing. Yogg-Saron is a similar card generally if we could find more spells. I'm going to keep him simply because we have Jade Idol, which can turn into a lot of spells in a late game type battle, plus a couple other spells here and there. So he might get off 5-6 spells. So he's a possibility. N'Zoth, on the other hand, I don't feel very good about. It's just a 10 mana 5/7 that summons a Huge Toad, and I don't think that's enough. So unfortunately for N'Zoth, I think he's actually going to get the axe. Just because, like I said, we have too many of those big drops. If we got a handful of that in the mulligan, we'd just be totally dead. This deck's so bad that we're going to have to play on curve to find any sort of success. There's not enough shenanigans here to make us better. So at that point, our Ancient Harbinger only has 2 minions to draw, and both of them are pretty good. So we like that. That's nice. It's very unlikely that they both come before the Harbinger. Sogoth's fine because he's a stabilizer type card. Like, he's a card that opponents will have trouble killing. So he can help you swing on 9. That's fine. Gruul is a little slow, but he's okay. Twin Emperor Vektor is actually fairly bad as well. I mean, all of these cards actually do things. This is the best of the hog cards, the motorcycle gang cards, because there are times when your opponent will have 6 cards. So this could be a decent card. Thorison's great, of course. Doomsayer's all right. So I kind of want to cut this Vektor just because it's a 7 mana 4/6, and that's very, very bad. Now, some people might say, well, why wouldn't you cut the Buccaneer or the Socialite? Those are really bad cards. They are, but bad cards are less bad early in the game. In other words, spending 2 mana on a bad card isn't necessarily a problem. As long as it does something in the early game, it stabilizes, it heals a minion, it trades into a Tonal Trog, something. But this 7 mana Twin Emperor Vector, by that point in the game, is just going to be such a poor influence on the game. Spending 7 mana just to get a 4/6 taunt will feel pretty bad. So I think we're going to go ahead and cut the Vector too. So now the question is what can we add to this deck to make it better? We've axed 3 cards. They're gone. So what do we want to swap in here? I can see a couple options here. We've got a 2-piece Jade set here with the Jade Blossom and the Jade Idol. There's a chance we could add in 3 Jade cards and try to go the Jade route for some value. But I just don't think that's going to work well with our curve. We already have some big threats and stuff, so the Jade thing is probably just going to be too slow and not impactful enough. Because by the time we get up to a 5/5 or 6/6 Jade that would matter, we'll be able to play stuff like Sogoth, Deathwing, etc. So I don't really like that route. So what I think I want to do is add in spells that benefit from Fandral. Because this is such a strong card, and we're not utilizing him at all in this deck so far. So I kind of want to just add in something like a Wrath, for sure, because it's early game removal, which is nice. Combos with Fandral. It gives us card draw, which we also are a little bit lacking on. We have the Lunar Visions, I guess, Cult Master theoretically, but still not a ton of card draw. So let's swap in a Wrath. And a Feral Rage is another card that's kind of intriguing. It's health, which gets us to some of our late game bombs. It's removal in the early game if we just draw really dead and need a 4 attack removal. Works perfectly with Fandral. It's a spell for Yogg. I think I really like a Feral Rage too. Now the next question is, what do we add after that? And I really don't know the answer. Swipe is always a good card for Druid to have. We could go for Nourish for more card draw, but I think that's just too slow for us. Ancient of War is a nice card, just as another stabilizer type minion against aggro. But we don't have a lot of ramp. We don't have double innervate. We have 1 Jade Blossom to give us some ramp, but not enough, I think, to make a card like this good. Because, by turn 7, this isn't as exciting as it is if you can get it out on turn 4 or 5 with ramp. That really, really stops aggro decks in its tracks. Sunlight Coon is always intriguing, but doesn't really work very well with our decks. Denarius is pretty good with Savage Roar. That's a consideration to make, but I think we took out so many late game cards, adding 1 back in wouldn't make a ton of sense. So are there any other legendaries that would just really suit us? It's one way to look, just power piece cards. Patches we could actually get value out of with a small-time Buccaneer, but that's not strong enough. Barnes is sort of intriguing. Is there any Barnes cards that are really beneficial? Gruul would be a good Barnes card. Thorison. Ancient Harbinger, maybe, but probably not. Validated Doomsayer is kind of cool with Barnes. It would be a 7/1 minion, which isn't too bad. What else? Cult Master's good with Barnes, but I don't know that it's enough. Do we need a 4-drop though? Huge Toad's okay with Barnes. Even a taunt like Tournament of Tindy's okay with Barnes. Argent Horse to go with Barnes. Yeah, this might actually be a fit for us. We have enough interesting cards that Barnes kind of makes sense. Oh, but at least Starseeker is another card that always makes sense, particularly in these kinds of decks, simply because our card quality is so low that when we get into the late game, like top decking Silverback Patriarch is so awful that if you swap all those out for legendaries, you suddenly have a pretty good deck again. So that's intriguing. Here's more legendaries. Nothing. We almost could do Reno if it wasn't for a double Savage Roar, but I don't really think that's necessary. Sylvanas is always a good choice. Stuff like Rag is always a good choice. Ysera is always a good bomb too, but again, I think those are just a tad too slow. So, is Bran an option? Bran is always a good card to consider. We don't have a lot of battle cries that are relevant though, I suppose. Yeah, not enough good battle cries. So the best sounding card there was who? Who did I say I liked in that list? Barnes. Let's try a Barnes. It's just an early minion. There's enough good hits. Some taunt minions. I mean, there's some dead ones too. King Muklu would be dead. You know, Gadget and Socialite would be dead. Bilefin Tidehunter would be dead. There's a lot of bad ones, but if you hit a good Fandral, hit a good Thorison, even a Sogoth, like a 1/1 taunt that they couldn't hit is actually pretty cool. So that might be good. So let's try Barnes. Just a good general legendary to swap in. And that said, that actually completes my list. And look at that curve. That's a really beautiful curve now. So that puts us in a pretty good spot. The question now is, we got to name this deck. I like to name my random decks, not just random Druid #1. That's just a temporary name. So what is the most kind of identifiable card in this list? We call it the Stag Helm Random Druid. You call it the Deathwing Random Druid. That's certainly never a bad name. I think we'll go ahead and call it the Stag Helm. That's pretty cool, pretty random, and we did build a few pieces around Stag Helm as well, even though I don't think he really summarizes what the deck... We could just call it the Savage Random Druid, I suppose, since there are 2 Savage Roars. That is the most identifiable card. So yeah, let's just call it the Savage. I like that better. I don't think we have quite enough Stag Helm synergy. So this is the Savage Random Druid 30 card list. And now it's time for the fun part. We're going to play this thing on the ranked ladder. That's right. Rank 7 is going to see the Savage Random Druid. Now, some people hate when I take bad decks out onto the ranked ladder. But hey, that's the whole point. We're trying to win games. I'll make a rule. How about this? If we lose the first 2 games, since we only have 3 games to test this bad boy out, if we lose the first 2 games, we'll take it on a casual and see if we can win a casual game. That'll be a new tradition, a new rule for the random decks. We'll take it on a casual for game 3. That way I won't sacrifice too many stars. So for Mulligan here, of course, we're just going to go for curve. With this bad of a deck, we're not looking for anything specific. We just want minions that can do things in the early game. He's really, really going to be surprised when he sees our small-time Buccaneer come right back out to face his. I'm almost embarrassed to play this card. We have to emote first, just so he understands something is going on. Oh man, I haven't done too many of these invalid deck challenges, but I've gotten some interesting friend requests and made some good Hearthstone friends in the past, so. I mean, honestly, it wasn't that bad, right? It absorbed a weapon shot, it killed patches. Like, I've had worse plays than that. So I guess we'll go ahead and play the Toad. He probably backstabs it, or maybe even Fan of Knives. But it has a chance of taking this to 2 or to 1 health, even if it doesn't trade. Like, I wouldn't be happy if it traded, that's fine. If it doesn't, it takes it to 1, which means I can Wrath it next turn and play a Tournament Attendee for card draw. This looks unlikely to be relevant, because I don't know that he's ever going to have a big hand unless he goes off on Gadget Sand. But if he goes off on Gadget Sand, I think we're going to lose anyway, so I don't even know if I want that to happen. That might be a bad thing. I'd rather just play a Boulder Fist Ogre, I think. Yeah, there's the fan trade, so we were right. So I mean, we got a 50-50 here to kill this pretty easily. Never lucky, guys. Never, ever, ever am I lucky. So he's down a weapon. I mean, clearly we can remove this now with the coin hero power. I guess we just will. I have to draw cards. I don't have a turn 4 play. Feral Rage might be a good one. I wanted to squeeze out the Attendee too, that's why I was hoping the ping hit, and I could have saved the coin, could have coined out the 5-drop the following turn. Like, it was a much better line of play, but that's going to hit me for 3 again, and we need to shut down that damage. I know it's just a small-time Buccaneer, but it's eventually going to kill us, so. Alright, so I don't love this, but this thing has to die. This does give me an on-curve play. Next turn we can Attendee, or I mean, excuse me, Darkscale Healer. That's fine. The Harbinger might be good on 6-2. Gives me something, a Deathwing or a Yogg-Saron, something to perhaps swing this game in my favor. Looks like he has an awkward hand. He's got a bunch of damage, I bet, like Leroy and a couple Cold Bloods. We need that. We need him to have a bad hand. For us to possibly win this game, this guy has to pretty much fail on card draw. Our awkwardness has to has to get us by while he's struggling, and we can hopefully just get enough of a lead that it becomes essentially insurmountable. The Hog Leader, with this kind of hand, though, is looking pretty good. 6/6 charge. I think this card is moderately, almost passably viable, but it's going to take the right meta to make it work. Man, look at that artwork on the Hog Leader. That is quite the chest she's rocking. Looks like Bebop and Rocksteady from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles' girlfriend. Counterfeit coin? What are we going to see here? Eviscerate face. Hero power tournament attendee. Oh, Van Cleef. Oh, Lord. Oh, he could have made that even bigger. He could have made that an 8/8. Not that it matters to us. We can't copy that. This is only friendly minions, unfortunately. We're pretty much almost dead. I don't know why that play took him so long. I mean, that's a great line of play against Druid, who typically doesn't have hard removal. I would have made that play in a heartbeat. Especially if that's in my hand. Why was that even a hesitation? Goodness. I was right, though, about his hand. It was mostly damage. But that's the perfect Miracle Rogue line of play. That seemed like an obvious winner. Alright, well, let's go again. That was pretty fast. Pretty fast. As you might expect, we started behind, stayed behind, and lost from behind. It's the same guy. Oh my god. It's the same guy. We have the same hand, too. I still have to keep it. It's going to get out before patches, so it's even better, actually, since we're not on the coin this turn. Could even maybe trade into his Buccaneer, too. I really hate getting the same guy for two reasons. One, it's going to be hard to beat Miracle Rogue. Two, it's just... he's really got to be curious why I queued up with this deck twice in a row. Really got to be curious. So like I said, this actually works out for us pretty well. We can kill the small time. Oh, he's going to trade for us? Doesn't matter to me. This is going to live more now that he didn't make that trade. But we have to go this way, of course, because we want to attack it while its health, or excuse me, while its attack is low. So he gets to hero power this now and Patches lives. If he traded, he'd had an empty hero power. So he made the right call, certainly. Mukla, we have to play it. It's not awesome because we know he has a minion that's going to be able to be nannered. Plus, giving a rogue spells, cheap spells, is never something you want to do. He probably thinks I'm like a mill deck now or something that I've got Mukla and Hog Leader. That's a neat little synergy, actually. Mukla into Hog Leader makes her far, far better. So I need to turn 4 play. Hero power on 4 is just going to be too bad to do anything. Just awful. Okay. I think we're going to see a Tomb Pillager come out. Cold Blood on the Patches. Van Cleef. Yep. Same story as last game. Same guy, same story. Oh, Barnes is a great draw. Most of the stuff we care about is in hand already, unfortunately, but... hey, I'll take it. It's a little stall. Silver... This guy just saw Silverback Patriarch get pulled out of my deck. He now knows officially that I'm running a Silverback Patriarch. I feel a little bit bad that, you know, for a lot of people, rank 7 is really high on the ladder, and he's probably playing very hard and taking this very seriously, and he's probably very confused why this is happening. So I have to admit, I feel a little bit bad about that, just because, you know, we're not cherishing or respecting the ranked ladder to the same degree as many players. So that's a problem, but it's just something we gotta have to deal with if we're gonna do this mode. So, the Doomsayer here, right, it's so bad, and it exposes the issue with this card, is that when you're playing from behind, it does nothing. It does absolutely nothing, right? because he's going to be able to attack his weapon and the Van Cleef into it. It's not going to trade into Van Cleef, so it accomplishes 0. This thing is still going to go absolutely insane. I can't kill it. I can only get to 3 damage with Savage Roar Hero Power. I would if I could get to 4, because it's going to go nuts. Like, the banana is the ultimate questing adventure synergy card. So I have to play the Dark Scale here, just hoping that it absorbs a hit, unlike the Validated Doomsayer, and hope that there's a turn in the future where the Doomsayer can actually live through the turn in order to accomplish something. But, you know, he's so far ahead, so many cards in hand. We know he has at least 1 nanner, so this is a 6/6 already, and much higher likely, and we just will never have a way to kill this. I considered adding a Mulch in the deck, something I talked about, just because we don't have any hard removal in this list. Unfortunately, Rogue is one of the classes that you need hard removal against most, and we ran into the same Rogue twice. That's a little problematic. This is good because it's a cheap buff to Questing Adventure. Good for him, bad for us, of course. That's not really something we needed to see either. So big. So many cheap buffs to the Adventurer. He's just sapping our guy. And we take 15 to the face. And we're dead next turn and have no way out. 0 way out. Mark of the Wild. We can't even cast this because all of our minions are too expensive. So, yeah. There goes 2 stars, boys. KU took 2 stars out of my life. And our deck is obviously pretty bad. Particularly against fast starts. I think we only have a shot in control style matchups. Let's see if a recent opponent wants to be our friend. I doubt it. I think he's probably just considering himself the luckiest dude on the ladder today for queuing into me twice in a row. Twice in a row into the Barnes Silverback Patriarch list. It's new meta. Well, guys, you can see how fun this is regardless of how bad it is, right? Like, it's a lot of fun. Jade Blossom's perfect. Ramp is good. You can tell we've had some big hands and big dudes. This is not the perfect hand by any means, though. Oh, goodness. All right, I think that's a good sign, though. I think that gives me time, which is what we need. I mean, obviously he's going to have a lot of legendaries and crazy stuff, but... Okay, I'll play that. I'll play it. I don't care about the heal. I just want the body. Blossom on 3 is going to be nice. I might even Lunar Visions on 5. That's fine. I'd like to hero power that down, but I can't because I got a Jade Blossom. It's just far too valuable. And the 1/1 will theoretically play pretty even. One good thing about Savage Roar in decks like this is it does give you a win condition. If you're able to get a wide board, 4 or 5 minions out, and just they didn't have an early answer, this just gives you a mechanism to win the game, which is always nice to have. We could Fandral just to scare him with it, because, you know, we're never going to get insane value off this. We have Feral Rage and Wrath, and that's it. So we could just play this as sort of a taunt, sort of a feint, and get the Buccaneer out alongside it. Would allow me to trade up a little bit with Savage Roar. Lunar Visions is cool, but it's a little risky just because he's amassing a bit of a board, and I don't want to fall behind too much. There's also a good chance the Hog Leader is nice next turn. So he's got 8 cards and 4 mana. It'd be very, very hard to play enough cards to empty that hand that wide. So this works out fine. We can Hog Leader and trade here and kill this guy. Could also Savage Roar. We can't do anything else if we do that, right? So I could attack this for 2 and this for 4. It'd leave me with a 1/2, but I just wouldn't be able to do much else. So I think the Hog Leader's right. It's going to go down to 1 health, which is scary. Dies to stuff like Consecration, but not a lot else. You might have another Blackwing Corruptor. Could have a weapon that kills it. But there's a chance this lives, right? Peacekeeper is a good answer. This might be the Lunar Vision's turn. Oh, actually, Darkscale Healer's even better because it, well, not really, though. So I can't kill this if I Darkscale. I can keep this alive and trade it in, but I can do that anyway, right, with just this minion, and then I'll get 2 heals next turn. So maybe we just Lunar Visions now. Hope we draw into something playable. Like a 4-drop. Bilefin's fine, I'll play that. It's going to be free, but that's totally fine. And I guess we'll just Hero Power here. And go face. We have a pretty wide board for Savage Roar. Not enough to kill him, but this will be 10 damage at this point. If we drew the other one, we might actually have close to lethal. I think we would. We'd be like 1-off lethal. We'd have it with the Hero Power, I think. Because each one of these represents 10. Oh, but that's only if this minion survives, so that won't happen. So we won't have lethal yet. This is solid. We don't have a mech, but it's just a body. For 7 mana, we can get 2 5/5s here. Ooh. Yeah, that's a card. That's a card that Paladin has access to. This is also a minion that he could have trouble killing. I'm going to play this, hope it sticks, and if it does, we'll do the Shambler next turn. I could have played this too, but Hero Powering just makes it slightly more likely that this survives. I'm not in a rush to play my cards because I just don't have enough cards. So we're down. How did we draw so many cards already? I guess Lunar Visions. He's barely drawn anything, but he has a bigger hand. Which clearly means his card quality is higher because he's accomplishing more with fewer cards. This is going to live, which is really, really good for me. He should trade into it just to prevent shenanigans, and it's going to help him theoretically, but we're going to be able to actually Darkscale really high value play here. Whoops. We need to Darkscale first because this doesn't copy it as a damaged minion. This would copy it as a 7/4. So we Darkscale first to make it a 7/6, and then we copy it. It will come as a 7/6 with full health. So if we'd done the ordering backwards there, we would have had a little bit of a problem, of course, right? And I think we'll just kill this. He might run out of pings. We've seen the Consecration. We've seen the Blackwing Corruptor. Does he have another ping for this? I don't know. Either way, we're getting quite a bit of value out of it. Just because it killed a 5-drop, and it's a 5-drop itself, so it's going to require at least a card and a half to remove, and that's a trade-up for us. Plus, we just have some big minions on the board alongside it, so there's a chance here we actually swing this in our favor. If Tyrion or something comes down, that's problematic. Pyro Equality is problematic too, just because it kills our board. I mean, it takes out some of his stuff, but that just leaves us without much gas left in the tank. Particularly because he's able to get a nice, cheap minion out afterwards too. Man, that was tough. So we kind of just have to play our hand, right? And hope we win somehow. We need a shenanigan with Savage Roar. We need some card draw. We need a Deathwing. We need Yogg-Saron. He's used a fair bit of removal, but he's got more. It's a controlled paladin with a bunch of extra legendaries. So, oh, that's why his deck is so full. I forgot that there's Prince Malchezaar. I was wondering how he had so many more cards than us, but that explains it. He started with 5 in the pot. All right, that's not good. We're just really falling behind here. Mark of the Wild. Savage Roar. Can mark this in Savage Roar. It'll kill the 5/5. This can kill the Azure Drake, and I can kill the 3/3. So we can actually clear his board here. I don't totally love it, but is there any better way to do this? No. There might have been if I'd marked this instead. But I wanted the stats on the Divine Shield here, was my logic. Who knows if that was right. I'd have to go back and review. So we've got 5 damage on the board. He's at 22. He's got 5 cards. We have 0 cards. So, yeah. Not in a great spot, guys. We need one of our crazy 10 drops or something. We're going to need a big Deathwing play to win this game. Big Yogg-Saron play. Oh, God. Can't kill that. Got no means to kill that. Jade Idol. Oh, man. That's not good. A 2/2 is so incredibly useless. I had to shuffle it. I mean, the risk, of course, is that now I have 3 of those to draw. So I could draw dead multiple turns in a row. That's why it doesn't really fit in this list very well. Outside of Yogg-Saron. We get Yogg and those spells start to add up. It could be very relevant. Oh, so many dragons. So many big dragons. Yeah, so, I mean, the Pyro equality is obviously what's going to cost us this game. Oh my gosh, he has so many cards in hand. Or in deck. He's added now 8 cards to his deck. That's a 38 card deck he's pulling. Oh, do I do it now or do I have to wait for bigger board? I don't think I can wait. I think I have to do it now and just hope. I mean, I have really not cast that many spells, but I'll take 12 damage. I mean, I'm not going to get another spell. I'm going to die by then, right? Because it's 12, I'll be at 2 health. He'd find a way to kill me, so I have to play it now. I'm not going to be able to squeeze in another spell before these just hit my face that hard. So it's only going to cast a few spells, but it's really our only shot. So maybe it draws me some cards. That's... He's had 11 cards added to his deck. Okay. Alright. Well, okay, cool, sure. It's not the worst. Nothing bad happened. The secret might scare him a little. There's a chance we get 12/12 in stats out of our Beneath the Grounds. Just instantly. That'd be pretty cool. And if I drew a Savage Roar, like, maybe that's a way to win the game. So it's incredibly unlikely. He's still at 24 cards, even though, you know, we're well into turn 10, I think, on this game. That's what you have on your opening hand. Because, you know, after the mulligan, you usually have like 25, 24 cards. He has so much to work with here. Tyrion. Okay, that's not an intimidating board at all. This is actually another out to win the game, perhaps. 8 damage to his face could matter. Like, what if he did like double the damage on this and hit me in the face, right? Oh god. That's good because it kills our Yogg, obviously. Or what if he does like a double Ysera Nightmare on this to kill me for show? And Eye for an Eye just wrecks him. I've got to say, that's the first time I've ever seen that. He just dreamed a wisp back to my hand. Like the only free card of the game, he just dreamed it right back to my hand. So that'll actually give me Deathwing if he ignores it. Which I think he might. This card would be great if it was end of turn. It'd be like an instant inclusion, I think, in so many decks. But at start of turn, much like Validated Doomsayer, just too slow. Gives your opponent all the time in the world. I think I'm dead, right? Hit me for 9, bro! Oh, he's not gonna hit me for 4. He's smart. I dead? 12. 21. No, I'm alive! I'm alive! I'm alive! I'm in a Deathwing! Oh, no! So it was 14. He was at 16. That if you know he'd done it wrong and done that and been greedy and been a showboater, could have been close, boys. Could have been close. But that's gonna do it for the Savage Random Druid. It's bad, right? It's bad. It happens. You know, I've only done a few of these invalid deck / random deck challenges in the past. I have won some games, so this wasn't the deck, but soon we'll win a random deck game before too long, I promise. It happens. But anyway, that's been pretty fun. Hopefully you learned something, enjoyed this experience. I'll be doing more of these in the near future, so if you liked it, let me know. It's always good to hear some feedback. I may try to refine the deck generation process somehow with the random number generators. That is, if you guys thought it was boring, if you actually enjoyed that process and thought it was cool to move down through the list, let me know in the comments. That would be a lot of helpful feedback as I sort of refine this process in the future for creating these videos. But until then, thanks so much for watching, and until next time, game on.